Every choice changes everything. You are listening to Crossroads Story. Forgive, fall, rise. Victor was once a bright-eyed boy with dreams and laughter. But that all changed one fateful night when tragedy struck. He lost his younger sister Lily to an act of cruelty that shattered his family and his spirit. From that moment on, anger took root in Victor's heart, slowly transforming him into a shadow of his former self. He dedicated his life to a single purpose: vengeance. Day after day, he trained relentlessly, honing his skills with every weapon imaginable. Friends and family drifted away as Victor became consumed by thoughts of revenge. The world around him faded into the background, leaving only the image of the man responsible for Lily's death at the forefront of his mind. With each passing year, he felt the weight of his thirst for revenge grow heavier. Yet beneath the rage, a flicker of doubt remained, a longing to find peace instead of just retribution. Little did he know that those feelings would soon lead him to a surprising revelation about himself. The night of Lily's death haunted Victor day and night. It was a stormy evening, and the air crackled with tension. While he was away at a friend's house, a gang broke into their home. They wanted money, but what they took instead was priceless: Lily's laughter silenced forever. Victor remembered the screams of his parents mingling with the sound of shattering glass, an unforgettable symphony of despair. When he returned home to find the police swarming his once happy abode, it felt unreal. The sight of his sister's empty bedroom left an ache in his chest that would never fade. The family gatherings turned to hushed conversations, and joy became a distant memory. Deep inside, guilt festered as he believed he should have been there to protect her. This guilt transformed into a raging fire, pushing him on a dark path toward vengeance. It wasn't just about seeking justice. It was about confronting the emptiness that had taken over his heart. Each moment reminded him that the world could be cruel, and he wouldn't let Lily's memory be forgotten. As the years slipped by, Victor transformed from a carefree boy into a hardened man consumed by his quest for vengeance. He spent countless hours training in isolation, perfecting his combat skills and learning everything he could about his sister's killer. The once bright laughter of childhood gave way to the cold silence of solitude. Friendships faded as he pushed away those who tried to reach him. His parents, grieving their own loss, often found themselves at odds with Victor's obsession. Family gatherings turned into awkward silences, filled with unspoken words and shared pain. Victor was no longer the son they knew. He had become a stranger wrapped in bitterness. Every decision he made, whether to skip school or turn down job offers, was driven by a single-minded focus on revenge. He believed that achieving it would fill the void left by Lily's death. Yet beneath this relentless pursuit lurked a flicker of doubt, reminding him that vengeance might consume him completely before he could ever find peace. Victor's focus narrowed to a singular figure, the man he believed was responsible for Lily's death, a man named Marco. Years earlier, Marco had been part of a gang that terrorized neighborhoods, known for his ruthlessness and cunning. The night of the crime, he had led the break-in that ended Lily's life, committing an unforgivable act that Victor could never bring himself to forget. Details about Marco trickled through the community, and every piece of information turned into fuel for Victor's obsession. He learned about the gang's operations, their connections, and their hiding spots, preparing himself for the day he would confront Marco. On restless nights, Victor's mind replayed the same scenarios: the encounter in a darkened alley, the desperate fight to reclaim what was lost. Yet as much as Victor fixated on Marco, he began to realize that the rage directed at one person had become intertwined with his own identity. His resolve to seek justice was often clouded by a growing awareness that seeking revenge could lead him down a path of darkness, much like the one Marco represented. As Victor embarked on his journey for vengeance, he encountered several moments that tested his resolve and stirred deep moral conflicts. One evening, he followed a lead to a dingy bar where Marco was rumored to hang out. Heart racing, Victor pushed through the door, ready to confront the man who had caused him so much pain. But when he spotted Marco laughing with friends, a wave of doubt washed over him. In that moment, Victor questioned whether violence would truly bring him peace or just further darkness. On another occasion, Victor overheard a conversation between two gang members discussing Marco's recent exploits. Listening from the shadows, he felt a surge of anger but also a twinge of hesitation. Was he willing to become like Marco, to harm others in pursuit of his own revenge? These encounters forced Victor to confront the reality of his choices. He grappled with the idea that seeking retribution might not heal his wounds but rather deepen them, leaving him forever trapped in a cycle of hatred and sorrow. The day finally arrived when Victor came face to face with Marco. It was a dimly lit alley, the air thick with tension as they locked eyes. Marco leaned against a wall, a sly grin spreading across his face, unaware of the storm brewing inside Victor. Heart pounding, Victor stepped forward, each footfall echoing in his mind like thunder. The years of training and planning had led to this moment, but as he approached, doubts flooded his thoughts. "Did you think I'd forget?" Victor shouted, his voice trembling with rage and fear. Marco's laughter faded quickly as he recognized the intensity in Victor's gaze. He had seen that look before in countless victims. The two men stood at a crossroads, one seeking justice for a lost life, the other embodying the chaos that had shattered Victor's world. As their fists clenched and tension filled the air, Victor felt the weight of his choices pressing down on him. In that instant, it was no longer just about revenge. It was a battle for his very soul. As Victor and Marco stood face to face, a wave of clarity washed over Victor amidst the tension. He could see not just Marco's smirk, but the reflection of his own anger and pain. In that moment, it struck him hard. Revenge wouldn't bring Lily back, nor could it fill the void in his heart. The years spent training and waiting were now overshadowed by a realization that hit deep. He was becoming the monster he despised. As Marco taunted him, Victor's fists clenched tightly, but instead of acting on his rage, he paused. Memories of playing with Lily, her laughter echoing through their home, flashed in his mind. He realized that she would not want him to seek vengeance. She would want him to live fully and find happiness again. This insight shattered the poison of hatred he had cultivated for so long. With his heart pounding, Victor found a surprising strength in choosing a different path, a path toward healing rather than destruction, and for the first time, he began to feel freed from the chains of his obsession. As Victor stepped back from the chaos of his emotions, a deeper realization began to take shape within him. He had always viewed himself as a victim of Marco's cruel actions, but now he recognized that his relentless pursuit of vengeance had also turned him into something he despised. The anger he harbored had polluted his heart and clouded his judgment, pushing away everyone who cared for him, including his parents, who were also grieving. In this moment of clarity, Victor understood that he was part of the problem. The cycle of violence would only perpetuate more pain, not just for him, but for those left in the wake of such choices. Rather than confronting Marco to seek revenge, Victor began to see that healing was essential for his own soul. It was time to forgive himself and let go of the hatred that had taken root inside him. With this newfound perspective, he felt the weight of his burden lift, knowing that true strength lies in choosing compassion over revenge. Victor stood at a crossroads, facing Marco with the weight of his past and future hanging in the balance. His hands trembled as he felt the pull of vengeance, the deep-seated desire to deliver justice for Lily's death. But now, as he stared into Marco's eyes, memories of his sister flooded his mind, her smile, her laughter, and the purity of her spirit. In that moment, Victor had to choose: carry out his plan to inflict pain, or break the cycle of hate that had consumed him. The air crackled with tension as Marco sneered, uncertain of Victor's next move, yet all Victor could feel was a deep yearning for peace. With every output of anger that he had practiced in his mind, a whisper of change pushed back. For the first time, he acknowledged that continuing down this path would only echo the same sorrow he had suffered. Taking a deep breath, Victor made his choice. He lowered his fists and stepped back, refusing to be a pawn of rage any longer. It was time to reclaim the life lost in hatred and honor Lily's memory through love and healing instead. Victor took a moment to breathe deeply, feeling the heaviness of his past still lingering in his heart. As he stood in the alley, he began to understand that true strength lay not in revenge, but in the courage to forgive. The weight of anger he had carried for so long lifted slightly as he realized that holding on to resentment was only keeping him tied to Lily's tragic death. In forgiving Marco, not just for himself but also for Lily, Victor opened a door to healing that he had never considered before. He felt a sense of liberation wrapping around him like a warm embrace. In letting go of his thirst for vengeance, he was finally reclaiming control over his life. With every ounce of pain transformed into compassion, Victor decided to honor Lily's memory through acts of kindness rather than violence. This decision marked a new beginning, where letting go became a source of strength and forgiveness turned into freedom, the ultimate tribute to the sister he had lost, leading him toward a future filled with hope instead of despair. Through his tumultuous journey, Victor learned valuable lessons about himself and the nature of healing. He discovered that holding on to anger only chained him to a painful past, preventing him from embracing the present and future. As he chose forgiveness, Victor realized that true strength lies in vulnerability and compassion, not in the pursuit of vengeance. This transformation allowed him to reconnect with the love and joy that Lily had brought into his life, reminding him that she would want him to thrive, not just survive. By shifting his focus from hatred to kindness, he began to mend the broken relationships he had once neglected, including those with his parents. Victor understood that healing is not a linear path but a continuous journey of self-discovery and growth. Each act of kindness he performed became a tribute to Lily, reinforcing his commitment to living a life filled with purpose and positivity. This newfound wisdom instilled in him a deep sense of peace, guiding him toward a brighter future where love prevailed over loss. Standing before the mirror, Victor took a moment to absorb the reflection staring back at him. The face that had once been etched with anger and sorrow was now softened by understanding and hope. He saw not just a man shaped by tragedy, but someone transformed by his journey toward healing and forgiveness. Gone were the chains of vengeance that had bound him. Instead, he felt an empowering sense of freedom radiating from within. As he traced the contours of his face, memories of Lily flooded back, her laughter, her warmth, and the joy she had brought into his life. Victor realized that honoring her memory meant living fully, embracing life, rather than seeking revenge for her death. In that moment, a smile broke onto his lips as he recognized the man he had become, one who chose compassion over bitterness. With newfound clarity, he whispered a promise to himself and to Lily. He would carry her spirit with him as a beacon of light, guiding him forward in a life dedicated to love and kindness. Another story ends. Another crossroad crossed. Subscribe now for more tales of love, betrayal, and redemption.